Alright, we got Geo1 and Geo2. Time to start the next project. So I scored the pair of them for what I think is a pretty good deal. $1,100. This one, actually both of them are 1991. Both of them are 3-cylinder 5-speeds. This one has been parked since 1995 when it got into a fender bender wreck, which was just enough to take that strut tower and crank it into the firewall. And it's caved in right here, and obviously this is bent down, this frame rail's pushed in, and it broke the transmission mount. I have never done structural body work before. I've never replaced inner structures like this. I've only ever done sheet metal. So this will be a project that I'm going to learn on. I figure it's a Geo Metro that insurance is going to say is worth between $800 and $1,200. If I screw up the sheet metal work, whoop-de-doo. Now the other one is pretty clean. It's got 177,000 miles on it, and like I said, I got them both from the same guy. He was going to repair this one, then he found the other one that was a clean shell, and he was going to do a drivetrain swap, and then probably get rid of whatever was left. I plan on doing the drivetrain swap and then repairing this one. So the other one, it's just a shell, but it still has all drivetrain in it. He bought it, and the head was removed. He assumed somebody was doing a head gasket for some reason. At 177,000, it really shouldn't need a head gasket, but because I have this motor, super low miles, I'm just going to utilize it for now. I've done some research, and parts for these are super cheap. Maybe I'll rebuild the other engine and stuff it back in here after I figure out how to do the sheet metal, which the sheet metal is going to be easier to do once I have the drivetrain out of it anyways, because then I can, freely measure everything and see where things are sitting. So I need to get this motor yanked out. I might pressure wash it because it's got a little tree grime on it, because it's been sitting for, well, 28 years, something like that. So yeah, I'm going to get this thing stripped out and get this engine out of here. Well, let's have a little look-see. 1 hour on the dot. Now granted, yeah, I didn't have to deal with a radiator, most of the electronics over here, but that was stripping everything off the intake manifold, stripping the entire engine harness off, dealing with broken transmission mount, which I might have to do some thread repair on this hole because that bolt was pretty severely bent. Fighting with the exhaust manifold bolts, which are always stuck. Yeah, that's it. I get this thing washed up and button this strut back up, because I cheated. Instead of pulling the axle shafts out, I unbolted the struts, dropped them down, laid the corners out, and then slid the axles out of the transmission. So I got to button those back up, then I get this car out of here and get this engine clean. Get the other car in, pull its motor and transmission out, get this one ready to go in. Got the old switcheroo with the cars done. Now this one's in a little bit of a different state. Somebody was attempting, I think, to do a head gasket. I'm not totally sure, but the manifold is unbolted, the head is unbolted, the intake manifold is unbolted. So I'll be a little bit more careful on this one. Probably going to pull the exhaust manifold, pull the head pipe off, pull the intake, and pull everything associated with it and pull the head. And then the head bolts I found in the car, I'll probably just slip one of the head bolts back in with my chain for my front hook point. And then the picking eye is still over there. I do have to be careful not to break this clutch cable because the other one broke, so I don't have a spare. And pull this wiring harness out, fuel lines, a couple vacuum lines, a couple coolant lines. I think I'm probably going to pull the radiator just to be safe. I don't want to smash it because the other car didn't come with one. And we'll get this engine. Well, even though this car was complete, Liberation number 2, I don't know, hour and 15 minutes. And I actually took a little bit more time because, as I said, the head was unbolted. It was just kind of loosely sitting on the block, and I guesstimated this engine needed a head gasket, and that's why somebody was tearing it down. I think otherwise now that I've had the head off and got to take a peek. Number one, doesn't look terrible. We look real close. All them little dings right there, all across the top of the piston. Number two is even worse. You see it up there. And those are pine cone seeds right there. And that is a rock. I'm thinking this engine was sitting for some time, and some rodent built a nest and they fired it up, and it sucked everything into the cylinders, and it beat the ever-living dog snot out of everything. Look at the bottom of the head. Those are pretty deep. That's bad. It's displaced the aluminum and it's pushed it overhanging in front of the cylinders. All three cylinders. That's strange. That's what I'm guessing has happened. There was a rodent involved here, or I was a troublesome kid. Maybe there was a child while the car was running throwing rocks into the throttle body. I don't know. It's just a guess at this point. We're never gonna know. I don't know the previous owner. I did notice on the timing belt, there's a little nick right there. Where'd the rest of it? It is a Gates. I wonder if I can go get this warranted. Generally speaking, Gates has amazing warranties. That's why I run their timing belts. Yeah. And then a separation right there. So the belt wasn't long for life either. But that motor's out. I do think it's salvageable. I mean, the head's gonna have to be decked either way. If I take a couple thousandths off and raise the compression, or if I get another head, whatever I end up doing. This transmission needs to be resealed. It was leaking out of both axle seals and out of the end case seal. We got the other 3-cylinder over here, the one I pulled out yesterday out of the wrecked car. I need to scrub it down and get it ready to go. It is hilariously tiny compared to the V10 it's sitting next to. This entire package is 26 or 29 inches long. Engine alone, 36 inches. Cute little bugger. So, I think the next thing I'm going to do, since I'm already this far, I'm going to reassemble the knuckles, put the tires back on this thing, roll it outside, and pressure wash the engine bay. Get everything spotlessly clean as I can before I go to put the new motor in. And I'm going to change out that exhaust manifold and possibly the head pipe and cat. This has got an aftermarket cat in it, and they did not put the exhaust hanger back on it. So when I unbolted the manifold, it fell all the way to the ground. I would prefer to have a mount there, because not having that and no flex pipe, that's a high stress situation, and I don't want the head pipe or the manifold cracking. So I pulled that out of the other car. Yeah, I'm gonna get this thing reassembled and get it pressure washed. And since this car has been sitting since 2018, I got the fuel line hooked up into a jerry can. Got the fuse box loose. I'm gonna find the one terminal that is ground. We're gonna, oh, now you can see what you're looking at. We're gonna apply power. We're gonna run that fuel pump. Get all that old nasty fuel out of the tank. Got all that nasty fuel out of there. Now I'll put the screws back in, remount the fuse block. Just so you guys know, if you're a Geo owner, that is when the tank is actually empty. The needle will go completely past the red mark and will be right on the corner of the E. And before you know it, man, these engines are so stinking easy. I think that was an hour and a half. Motor and transmission, hook everything up. So now I need to get some oil, filter, well, I have the oil, and some coolant, and a battery, and some fresh fuel. See if this thing's gonna run. Purrs like a kitten, especially for having no connection to the O2 sensor. Not sure what exactly happened there. I'll get that hooked up. Definitely not the right battery. Can't even close the hood, but it's fine. So it's throwing check engine light for the codes for the O2 sensor. I don't know if you can hear that. Here, clickety clack back there. Apparently there's some rust in the exhaust. She's all flying out on the ground back here. What would you expect for sitting for a couple years? So I'm gonna get that O2 sensor wire fixed. Finish barring on the back two tires. Once I set the front end down, got the front two on. No, they're not balanced. I'm way too lazy for that. I just do it old school. On your sidewall of a new tire, you have your red spot as the heaviest point on the tire, factory. Set that up 180 degrees from your valve core or valve stem. I did replace the valve stems too, so I gotta swap out the backs. Need to get some more fresh fuel for it and a whole lot of cleanup, because the inside of this thing's pretty gross. Still smells like mildew, but we're getting there. Warmed up, running pretty sweet. So I gotta figure out that check engine light. It's flashing code 12, which is something to do with ECM, but yeah, seems to run good. Let's give it a little rundown. I mean, it's a 3-cylinder. Don't be thinking it's gonna be no speed demon. But it does break the tires loose. Gets up to 35, no problem inside the yard. For oh, what is this thing rated? 52 horsepower. No power steering. Just as plain Jane as it gets. But for what I need it for, it'll do. Agile too. Gonna have to let the rust wear off the brakes after a couple laps. Yeah, pretty good runner. I think I'm about 6 hours into it total. E-brake even works. Got a little more interior cleanup to do, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Thanks for watching, guys.